Okay, so up to our next one, which are called hyperbolas, Hyperbolas, hyperbolas. Okay, and these look like fractions. So what I want you to do is just use your calculator and put in these numbers and generate a table of values, and then we'll sketch it. Okay, so pause and have a go. So you should have got minus 0.5, minus 1. Now this one here, your calculator would have given you an error message, like unable to be done. So you get an error message, so nothing, there's no answer there. 1 over 1 is 1, and 1 over 2 is 0.5. Okay, so let's see if we can actually sketch what that looks like. Okay, so we've got minus 2, minus 1, 1, 2, and the only values we've really got are 1 and minus 1. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got that, and we've got that, and that. So we've only got a few values. So what's going to happen is, well, let's look at a couple of other ones. So for instance, if we've got x equals minus a half and x equals positive half, see what happens when you do 1 divided by minus a half and 1 divided by a half. See what answers you get, and then we'll plot them. Okay, so you could have got minus 2 and positive 2. So now we can put in a couple more values. So I'll just change colours. So I've got 2, minus 2. And now we've got that value, and now we've got that value. And if you kept doing the values, as x gets smaller, the answer gets bigger, and as x gets bigger, the answer gets smaller, and the same on the other side. Okay, but what happens is this the y-axis you can't actually get to the y-axis, and you can't actually get to the x-axis. So you get these broken curves with curves. Broken curves, they're not joined, and they're on opposite sides of the axis. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. So actually now we just go straight to the general. So if you've got y equals anything over x, you know, y equals 5 over x, y equals 2 over x, y equals 1 over x, whatever. If you've got that, you'll always have this general shape where it's on opposite sides. So they're on opposite sides, and they're like the mirror image of each other. So the features are, you don't have any x and y intercepts. As x gets bigger, this direction or that direction, y gets smaller, and it either approaches 0 from above or it approaches 0 from below. But it approaches 0 in both directions. And as x gets smaller that way, or x is smaller that way, the curve just it starts going up really high or starts going down really low. So in this direction, as x gets smaller, it either approaches positive infinity up that way, or it approaches minus infinity in that direction. Now these lines that the curve doesn't cross, they're called this special word asymptotes. So there's a horizontal asymptote, which is the x-axis, and the x-axis is y equals 0. And the vertical asymptote, the direction this way, the curve doesn't approach the y-axis, and that the y-axis is x equals 0. Okay, so the x-axis has y equals 0, and the y-axis has x equals 0. So we have vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes. So copy and come across. So we've got some simple features, simple changes. We take the basic curve, and we can add a number, and all that happens is the curve just gets pushed up by that value. Okay, so when it was previously on the y-axis, on the x-axis, we're just going to push up the curve by a value of b. Now, what happens is when you push it up, it will cross the x-axis. It won't cross the y-axis, but it will cross the x-axis, and that x-intercept is always minus a on b. Okay. Here's the calculation for how it works, but let's just hopefully we'll have a cheat sheet. So the x-intercept is minus a on b. The horizontal asymptote in this direction, the horizontal asymptote is y equals b, so it's always going to be that number at the back, and the vertical asymptote will be the y-axis again. Okay, so that's the y-axis again. Okay, so copy that and come across when you're ready. So let's have a look at hopefully an easy sketch. So we've got our basic function, and we're just going to push it down -1. So I pushed it down -1, and then I've just got the same shape. So it's going to be the opposite sides, but instead of being opposite side of 0, it's going to be opposite sides there. And we've got an x-intercept. Okay, the x-intercept is minus a on b. A is 3, b is -1, and so you end up with +3. So the horizontal asymptote is that line, and the vertical asymptote is the y-axis again. Okay. Copy and come across. Again, I'm not 100% sure how far we'll go, but we'll just try. This is another change to the basic shape. And again, we mightn't have to go this far, but we'll put it in our notes anyway. So rather than having x on the bottom by itself, I've got a number with it. And so what's going to happen is the curve actually gets pushed backwards. It's still on opposite sides, but instead of being at the y-axis for the asymptote, it's just being pushed back to the opposite number minus b. Okay, so we've got a y-intercept, and the y-intercept is always a on b, and there is no x-intercept this time. Okay, so the horizontal asymptote is the x-axis, and the vertical asymptote is this new line here. So when we have a number here, we're going to get a change to the vertical asymptote. Okay, so we're not going to make it too hard. In year 10, the A's might have to do a bit harder. So copy that and come across. So what we're going to do is we'll have a sketch of y equals 2x plus 1. So when you ever see a number on the bottom, we do the opposite. And so we're going to push it back y equals -1, and we're going to have the same shape as always. So it's going to be on opposite sides again. X-intercept is just 2 on 1, which is just 2. So it's crossing there. The horizontal asymptote in this direction is the x-axis, and the vertical asymptote is this purple line, x equals -1. Okay, copy and come across. And then again, hopefully we'll again just make them straightforward. Instead of having a plus number on the top, you could have a minus, and all that happens is we just switch it over. So instead of being in these two areas, it's in the opposite, but it still has the same shape. Okay, and that might be the last one. Nope. So we've got an example to do. So we've got -2 over x minus 1. Okay, so we've got a change on the bottom, so we take the opposite number, so we push it across to x equals +1, and because it's a minus, it's going to be in these two areas. It's going to have an x-intercept, so we just do -2 over -1, -2 over -1, which is +2. Okay. Let's have a look. I think that might be it. So there'll be a worksheet on Moodle. So that one, not as easy as circles, but hopefully you'll be okay with it once you see the worksheet. Thanks.